Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
And we are back with your Survivor News coverage of Survivor Season 48, Episode 13, the season finale. The baby boys, it looks like they are alive. We've got Wendell, the first merge boot of Ghost Island. Wendell was popping with you.
How we doing? Good to be back.
Good to be seen, I guess. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Jackary Atkins. Jackster, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I'm a little bit, it's been a busy week. But I'm, obviously excited to be here with you guys. And we had a fun time in New York City. So
yes. And if you are a posse member or an OG member of Survivor News, you know it's only one way we end out the season. We have the queen from Survivor Season 38, Miss Lauren Alexandra. What's popping with you, boo?
So happy to be here. I feel so honored to get asked back. Thought after our last one that Wendell wouldn't let me back on.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should say that, Lauren, because we got to start this episode off with some new rumors brewing in my DMs. Well, first of all, we have to, here on the podcast, we uplift when we show love. And a huge shout out to our baby boy, Jackary Atkins. He had his Chet Bond license.
What a picture!
Movie premiere at a fest. Tell us about it last night, Jack, because it was in New York.
Yeah, it was last night in New York. I had to pull up for the baby boys, but also for our little premiere. We threw it ourselves at this venue in Hell's Kitchen, and just wanted to celebrate with like friends and family. And we're gonna be doing one in LA with more friends and family, and also some connections. But yeah, it's a pilot that we shot that I starred in, and we're gonna be trying to pitch it and everything. But yeah, I appreciate everyone came out. Wendell pulled up. Wendell got to meet Christine.
Well, funny you should say that, because I posted a photo of Wendell and Christine in my DMs, and I was like, somebody wrote classic Wendell. So I was screaming, but yes, shout out to Christine.
Wendell.
Wendell, you better not.
I have something to say. Jackary.
Is Jack your son?
Are we ready?
Yo.
Are we ready for this?
No, relax.
The only thing I have to say is Jack is being very humble, and this is a big deal, Jack. We are so proud of you, my man. This was a movie screening. You did such a great job in this pilot. You were hilarious. The character that you played, you were so great. It's such a great premise. Like, he's James Bond's son, but he's kind of like bumbling around trying to figure things out. And
so he's Jack.
He's Jack. It was easy for him to play, and without spoiling anything, but like the powers that be at the agency are looking at this guy who is in there via nepotism, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna give you a super mission. Go do this for us." It's like, go grab coffee for us or something like that. So watching Jack navigate that is just a real funny, amazing, large accomplishment. So we're proud of you. As far as Christine is concerned, she's awesome. And no, Jack, what I said to Brice was Christine is so cool, and she'd be someone that we could like grab a beer with. That's how cool your mom is. And so it was great to finally meet her. I actually thought that I already met her. That's how cool she's just been with us over the years.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I appreciate all the kind words. I think you said more about my premiere than anything about Survivor this season. So I mean that in a good way. I appreciate, like, clearly you were locked in. You enjoyed it. Sounds like you enjoyed it. You showed love, and yeah, it was great. Christine loves you guys, so I'm glad you had a chance to meet her. But yeah, it was a great time.
last thing though, the Purple Pants Posse, the Jack Shack, and the Win Den. We don't play about our baby boy Jack Atkins, and so I want to make sure we show Chet Bond _ official Instagram page some love. It currently has 63 followers. Let's get it up to 120 Posse. Can we get it to 120 Posse? So what is the emoji we should put in? For I don't want to use.
I think there's like a spy emoji. I think there's
okay.
A spy one. Why not?
So Posse, hit the spy emoji when you follow the Chet Bond _ official movie page. We need to make sure we blow up our baby boy and show him some love. Okay, that's Chet Bond _ official. Now listen.
And Thursday night, I mean, last night the premiere was spectacular, but what's a premiere without a finale the night before? And I got to show you guys love. We had 2 of your events, Tuesday and Wednesday, for the Survivor finale. And I think that set me back about a couple of years because it was crazy. It was your biggest one ever, like the most people. I mean, talk about it. Like,
before we talk about that, Jack, Lauren, I love me some Jack, right? And sometimes when DZ be pissing me off and he puts me on, I feel like I'm Chet Bond because he gives me these impossible missions. And so we were at the Real Talk, and shout out to Michelle Fitzgerald, to Hoboken Mike, to Carla, to Kim Judd. We put on a spectacular Real Talk event panel, and that will be available on YouTube soon, so look out for it. But in the midst of it, Lauren, with Brice and Wynn, I have my roles. Wendell has his roles. We like to delegate missions, and all of mine was checked off. We get to the Real Talk, and Wendell's like, we don't have a hotel for our DJ. Well, Lauren, what that got to do with me? Okay, because Jack's in New York, check. I'm in New York, check. And so Wendell puts me on this impossible mission. The Knicks are in the finale, or they're in the series, and so New York is popping. And so Lauren, I just have to say, shout out to Jack because I was in the middle of having a conniption, and Jack. And you know what Jack does to help me, Lauren, in the middle of my conniption?
What's he do?
Jack's like, do you mind if I go get a sandwich? Okay. I'm like, go ahead, Jack. So I'm trying to figure stuff out, driving Wendell's old boat. But also, I just want to confirm, because, Q has started this rumor that I do not drive, Lauren. Jack, do you have anything to tell the people?
I would give you a hard time, but I genuinely have to say, so I was riding around with Brice, helping him up with this errand. We were driving Wendell's.
Why? Really quick, sorry. Just like a second. Why did you have to drive to get a hotel?
So,
great question, Lauren.
Okay, so okay. Brice, because he booked a hotel with points,
right?
He booked it for one person, aka him.
Yeah.
I guess when you use the points, you're if you want a second person allowed in the room, you have to list that, but
not really
points, but not really. But so to do that, Brice couldn't add another person on the reservation because there was only a one-person reservation. So he tried to call them and be like, "Hey, could my cousin, could I add his name to the list so that he can check in without me?"
Right.
And then they said, "We're not really supposed to do that, but we will do it." And then the DJ gets there. And they're like, "Oh, well, we don't have your name. You can't check in." So then we had to drive to go. Brice had to go check him in.
That makes sense. And
Brice was driving Wendell's car, which is
boat.
Yeah, what car do you? It's a big. It's like a big what is it? A Chevrolet?
It's a Suburban.
It's a Chevy Suburban. It's it's bigger than Lauren's house. No, it's bigger than my flat. It's a big car. Brice did a good job of driving out in the city. He parallel parked
that to New York.
Pretty small in New York. He parallel parked that thing perfectly in a pretty small. So
you were parallel parking a Suburban.
Yeah. The only thing, Lauren. The only thing is my bumper is still on that New York street right now.
He lying. But
you did have to know. And I only, but then we couldn't figure out. Brice couldn't figure out how to pay for parking, and I was hungry as hell. So I was like, I saw a deli. I was like, I'll just go get a quick bacon, egg, and cheese. And by the time I came back, I got back in the car, and Brice was like, Well, I added him to the reservation. Like I added him to the reservation. And I said, Brice, 987654321. It's gonna be okay.
I was popping off.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Brice so mad.
For operations manager for your next tour.
Please, thank you, Lauren, because somebody got to do it. But
also, it's circling back. It sounds like Wendell didn't get the DJ a hotel.
Listen here.
No.
And I'm not one to bring up old news.
I am, so go ahead.
Okay. This has been a tour of us having some accommodation / lodging issues. And I've been telling Brice for weeks, now months, hey, we got to think about finale. Let's look at the hotels. Hey, let's do a big Airbnb for everyone. Hey, let's do this, that. Brice is like, oh no, I'll hold off because I want to wait for the rates to go down. And I'm like, Brice, in my head, I'm like, Brice, that's great if you're only thinking about yourself.
I had a room, Lauren.
We have a whole team. We have a whole team to account for.
Then he's sending Airbnbs that are AKA 6 bunk beds, and it's saying a spacious loft in Midtown. You've got to share the bathroom with the other floor. No, I'm good, Wendell.
No, I sent numerous ones with many rooms, but because we waited till the 9th hour,
we or you,
we had quite the pickle, and not Brice's kind of pickle.
The rates did not go down.
Jack, we don't even talk
on Tuesday night or Monday night, and it was
rates objectively go up.
Lauren, the thing is, and this didn't just happen in New York; it happened last week in Boston, and we're not even going to get into that.
It did not happen last week in Boston, anyway. But New York was
consistency. Okay, we love a man who is consistent. You're going to mess up every time. At least we can account for it next time.
And that's him, not me. But New York showed out, Lauren. It was crazy.
The huge Survivor, like amazing. I was so jealous. I genuinely did think about coming back out.
You should have just stayed.
Guys, I need to get out of that city limits. I give myself a week and a half in New York, and then I got to get out. But it looked amazing.
Yeah, New York is a spectacular place. We love it. Shout out to everyone that came out. There were so many amazing reality stars, from The Circle to the Squid Games to Destination X to Survivor to Amazing Race. It just happened to be just Big Brother. It was so amazing. Tuesday night after the karaoke, I met up with some friends. I went out to a bar, and I met me a little man, and so okay, New York did me all right. Okay, shout out to New York. I'll be back next weekend, but anyway,
so
and that's no cap. Yeah,
about that.
Ruth's picnic next weekend.
It is, but I might be missing it.
Wow.
Well, listen. Jack was in the building. There were just so many amazing moments, so many amazing people. Shout out to Boston Underground. Shout out to Brett LaBelle. Shout out to Andrea B. Shout out to Eliza, Amazing Race. We had Jack and Carson, the new winners of Amazing Race. We had my man. Don't tell Austin, but my original man, Xander, was in the building. He came straight from work. He had a work briefcase. I said, Xander, let me hold that work briefcase. I held it. That thing was heavy. Okay. So I don't know what Xander do for work, but it's serious business. There are just so many great times, so many great people. Any highlights of the night for the baby boys?
I mean, so all like it sounds bad. Like it was insane. Like it was just a crazy night. So many. You just named so many great people, and that's like not even half of the people that were in the building. The only problem is
Rachel, Teeny, Andy,
Gabe,
Asia. Gabe was in the building. Child, let me tell you
Rachel
about
Lamont,
Gabe.
The winner of Survivor.
That's what
was in the building.
At one point in time, I saw Gabe in the corner. I was like, oh my God, are we having a Jack moment? Because normally in finales, Jack goes under a speaker and he cries. And I looked over. It happened twice, Jack. Okay?
It happened once.
And
Gabe stand on the one time it happened, but
Gabe in the corner. I was like, tapped him on the shoulder. He turned back aggressively. I said, everything okay, Gabe? He's like, I'm checking the sports stats of the teams that are playing. I said, don't let me buy.
While the finale was going on, the Knicks were also playing, and then the game ended right after the finale with that crazy ending. But I mean, look, shout out to Gabe, because this time I did not really stand in the corner under the speaker, and I got really no idea what happened in the finale. I was having so much fun, I was barely able to watch. So
Gabe took your spot.
Yeah,
Gabe took your spot, and Halliburton about to take LaMelo's spot. But listen, it's still LaMelo Ball for life.
One also, another thing, you said Boston Underground games. They came with a bunch of games to the welcome party, and then they set up the one ball game that Rachel won during her season at the finale. And also shout out to our friends at Survivor Now. They bought a table, and also the head of Survivor Now, Randy, kind of emceed for us during the commercials, and that was really cool and really special. I know he enjoyed it. So shout out to Survivor Now podcast. Those are our people.
Yes. And also shout out to Tevin Davis. Baby, you would have thought Bryson win what? It was Tevin Davis present. I saw Tevin upstairs, downstairs. I saw Tevin getting our photographer to capture these photos. I saw Tevin telling Joey and Caution what to play. I saw Tevin posing with photos. I saw Tevin eat. The way Tevin Davis was all around our party.
Tevin said, "This is my party now."
Tevin said, "This is my party." He said,
Tevin gave like a sermon at one point too. They up on stage, and those games too from Boston. Those were fun. I only got to do one.
Lauren,
I won myself a shot.
Lauren, let me tell you. So they had one of the games where you have to it looks like maybe a guitar,
big paddle, and with the little divots, you have to like roll the ball and land the balls in the divots.
Right. Okay.
At one point in the karaoke party, I'm like, well, first of all, Jack had a work meeting, so Jack had to leave and come back. Jack was serious about his work. When Jack came back, I couldn't find him. I'm like, where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where's Jack? Lauren, Jack was 45 minutes. People behind him were like, are we going to get a turn? Jack's like, wait a second.
It's not true.
Okay.
You're making me look bad. No, shout out to Keenan. Keenan and I wanted to do it. We bet, loser buys the winner a shot, which we saved for the finale itself. But he and I squared off. And I think I did a pretty good job. I was it took me maybe 5-10 minutes. And then I wish I had played more games, but I was worried for exactly the reason Brice said it. It's like, I get too into it. And people would be like, why is Jack hogging the game?
Right.
They're like little kids, like, Mommy, I really want to play. Jack's like, not now.
Right.
Just did the one and caught a W. So I'm undefeated.
Jack let the whole room know. Okay.
You were the one filming me the whole time.
I'm gonna support my baby boy. But listen, we've got an episode to get into. I want the comments to get they be cussing us out in the comments, Lauren, when we talk too much before we get into the episode. But we have a finale episode. It was relatively good. I feel like my suspicions of Kyle wanting to bring Eva and Joe to the end were correct. But I do want to talk. Well, first of all, overall thoughts, Lauren. What do you think of this season?
I don't talk badly about Survivor in general. I just want to make that very clear. I just avoid all negative talk about Survivor. It gave me my best friend in the entire world. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love Survivor. I think anybody that gets to play Survivor, that's awesome. I questioned a lot of the editing this season because I felt like there were things going on that didn't make sense. Like having been on the show, I totally understand that they edit things out or they piece things together in order to give an ultimate story, right? It's either why someone won or why someone lost, whatever. But it felt like we were being left out of so many conversations that never looped back around. I felt like there were some connections that were made in that final tribal, but overall, I felt like I was missing something. Am I just dumb?
No, I agree.
Did it feel that way to you guys as well?
The edit was very heavy on Eva and Joe. They wanted to get that story and that connection out there and show that, which they did a good job of showing that connection. I think that was to the detriment of a lot of other connections, moves, characters. We missed out on a lot of great characters this season.
I would like an entire show with just Star. That's my personal request. I just you guys know I'm obsessed with her. Like every time she's on the screen, she got one question to final tribal. I'm like, let her ask every question. Let her ask every question. Like, yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, I think that's a great point. Like I felt very similarly where it was kind of the Eva and Joe show, and obviously they had a very powerful connection, but strategically speaking, it wasn't anything too complex. So it's like, all right, we're seeing a lot of Eva and Joe every episode. We get the Kyle storyline of him, towing this line throughout the game, which is interesting. But then other than that, the Kyle Kamilla do. Other than that, we never really see the perspective of like the people that are in the minority or
Shaheen.
Yeah, we didn't really get a lot. Like, Shaheen was a driving force out there. It seems like we didn't really see a lot of Shaheen. We didn't really see a lot of like Star. We didn't really see a lot of like Mary post merge. We didn't really see that much of Mitch. So it just kind of felt very like one dimensional as far as the edit goes. Where and obviously maybe the gameplay was a little bit more straightforward than other seasons, but yeah, I agree with that, Lauren. I think the edit was pretty straightforward. It's like
we edited Joe and Eva so heavily so that in that final tribal, the kind of because I felt like the jurors were relatively shocked by how close Kamilla and Kyle were, unless that was a misread on my part, but it felt like they were like, oh wow, because they kept panning back to Kamilla after Eva was like, we're the strongest duo in the game, blah blah blah. And do you think they edited them so strongly so that when Kyle and Kamilla are like, hey, we're the duo, that the audience also felt like nobody knew?
I don't think anyone knew, but I also think that like the strongest duo was Kyle and Kamilla, period.
Yeah,
right? Like
not even close.
And I think for us as viewers to get that, I think the edit leaning so much heavily on a Joe and an Eva that kind of like gives the yin and the yang a little bit. But I also feel like they could have did like 20% less of how much they did of Joe and Eva because it was so prevalent.
Well, I'd venture to say that maybe this is their perspective. Maybe this whole season, we're almost seeing this Joe and Eva perspective. They are running the game. They have this dominant alliance. They're impenetrable. They've been everything that they've done has turned to gold. Meanwhile, on the low, you got this bubbling force that is actually even stronger and maybe even smarter than them. And then we see this brilliant move last episode by Kyle and Kamilla. So it's like, all right, we've been fed that this is this. And then all of a sudden, boom, we all have this epiphany moment like, damn, Kyle and Kamilla really are the puppeteers of this thing, which only happened last episode was this big, bold move. But still, everyone is blind to it because only the two of them know that they manipulated Joe to change his mind about Shaheen. So I'd almost venture to say that the edit was like, all right, the perception out there was kind of that these people are dominating the game. But the actual reality, if everyone had the all-seeing eye, they would all know that Kyle and Kamilla were this bubbling superpower. I don't know.
I love that take. I have two questions on it. One, I can't.
He knew. He spoke up. David.
I have something about David too.
Oh.
But Lauren was about to go. So
no. I want to hear what you have to say about David.
The only thing I'll say about David is in Eva's exit press, and she was very adamant in her exit press with Sesternino. She said that Rob was like, hey, did none of you guys know about this connection between Kyle and Kamilla, even when David brought it up? And essentially what she said was David threw everything at the wall. David was bringing up all kinds of things. And she said that a blind squirrel finds its nut on occasion, yeah, okay, that happened to be right. But if he gives 450 philosophies during that day. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm also curious to know what were some of his other philosophies, because were they wrong?
Yeah, Notting Hill is not a good rom-com. I'll stand 10 toes down on that.
But Brice, that's the thing is like we didn't see a lot of his philosophies, and the ones that we didn't see were probably the ones that were like irrelevant, where he might have been like Mitch and Star running this game as a dynamic duo, and it's like what this is,
I do also have a question, right? If outside of David knows all, if Kamilla and Kyle were being so discreet with their relationship, does that make it harder for the editors, right? Like, do you think maybe that's also a reason why we got so heavily of this Joe and Eva? Because you've been out there, Lauren, you've been out there, Wendell. You played last Tuesday, Jack. And but you know how the editors, or when we're filming, if they see people talking, like they'll run over, or and you'll get like you'll get in trouble, like they'll say like hey, like we need to hear this, like, and so like I almost wonder, because Kyle and Kamilla were so low and it was only them two, you didn't really hear other people kind of like speculating or talking about it. But obviously the two that we did know was Joe and Eva, and that's why it kind of seemed like everything centered around them. So I almost wonder if that could be a part of why the edit seems a little like skewed.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on that. Totally could be possible. I also think, when I said originally, I think that a lot of times the Survivor winner, the story is why they won or why someone lost. Like, I think my season personally was a story of why someone lost. And they had to, in the end, show why Chris, like they edited Chris so heavily, because I think the whole story was why Rick was going to win. Rick was going to win. Rick was going to win. And then Chris comes in and he does X, Y, and Z. And they have to highlight that so much to show why Rick lost. Like, that's what I think. I could be totally wrong. But I feel like maybe they edited Joe and Eva that way. And they're like, this is why Joe and Eva lost, because of this one move or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't read the exit press because I find exit press to be funny. But did people say that they were going to vote for Joe and Eva? Because the sentiment that I like very secondhandedly got was that they were not going to vote for Joe and Eva. And I also feel like Shaheen saying, I wanted to sit by you two, is also kind of telling. So because Wendell, you said, was the perception of everybody that they were running the game, and then this one play changed it. Do we think that them voting out Shaheen is really what shifted the entire jury? Like, were they going to get any votes?
I think you're absolutely right. I think we watched this jury being upset and feeling some type of way about this dominant alliance. And I think Kyle is a great person to with his move and with the way he articulated himself, to sit there and put the death blow on them. Like, it's like Mitch could have sat there and maybe done it, Kamilla for sure. So I think you're right. Like, all right, this jury is already like upset with these two. Now just give me a reason not to vote for either of them.
Yeah.
That's
what I think. But
it's pretty fascinating too, because editing wise and just like with the story, Joe and Eva as a duo, clearly Survivor really wanted to uplift and showcase that duo because it had a lot of beautiful components. But at the same time, it's a duo that it ultimately didn't have a lot of winning stock. So it's like, how do you both uplift them and show them off while also being like, well, here's why they actually weren't that good when it comes to winning the game. And I think they did a good enough job. Like, we started seeing seeds of Joe, his game, a couple issues with his game. Honestly, I'm surprised Eva and Joe got as many votes as they did. I'm surprised Eva got more votes than Joe. And I don't know.
I'm not though.
Like, you make it to the end as a duo, you did something right.
Right.
Exactly. Like they pretty much ran the game. Like they and that's why the edit was kind of boring, is because what Joe and Eva wanted to do happened every time they went to travel. Obviously, Kyle had some influence in those certain decisions, but like they played a good game together. And I just think the jury was just kind of bitter of like, it seems like they're running it so much that they don't even want to like play with us. So I don't really want to vote for them. But it's like they did run the table for the most part.
I've got two things, and one of the ones, I don't know, is this a safe space that I could talk about this? Because it is kind of sort of serious, because it is about Eva, right? Two things about Eva. One, I think 3 weeks ago, I would have been shocked to learn that Eva got more votes than Joe. After this episode, though, seeing Eva solve the puzzle and getting it right, I started thinking like, whoa, outside of like Eva being in the dominant alliance and being connected to Joe, like, she's had a good game in the sense of like, she had a lot of not immunities, but she had a lot of advantages, and like, so she was well protected. However, it's like, most of the time when people get all of these advantages, they normally fumble them. And like she kind of like held on to that. So in that essence, I'm not even mad at that. Like, I mean, I see what you're saying, Jack, but like, I'm not mad at it. Like, girl, you got all this stuff.
No, she did a good job. She did a good job. It seemed, and yeah, I think you have a lot of good thoughts on that. And it wasn't, I don't think that by any means she should have been like a 0 vote finalist. Like I could see why people didn't vote for her, but Joe definitely seemed to be leading that duo, but
absolutely, but but clearly at a cost, right? Like clearly at a cost. And then a part of another thing of Eva that I want to talk about that I've kind of been biting my tongue a little bit on. And again, it is Eva has autism and she has these episodes, and I love seeing that on TV. Like I have a niece that is autistic, nonverbal. And so like, I love the fact that like my niece can watch this. People with autism can watch this. But I'd be honest, a part of, and again, this has nothing to do with Eva. Sometimes it has to do with like other people. And there were times that I felt like we're championing Eva, like we're championing her because, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes it felt like she was being championed because of her having autism. But hear me out of what I'm saying, as opposed to championing her because she's a effing champion. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there seem to feel a little like she's going on every reward and all of these things. And again, nothing to do with Eva, but more of like
how other people are interacting.
Almost like you're like coddling her, and it's like, baby, let's be clear. Eva is a beast. Like Eva is like one not to be played with. Like she can compete. Clearly we see that. And so that just was like something that I felt like a little bit like, it's almost like people are walking on eggshells. And it's like, hey, because I have this said whatever, I don't need for you to walk on eggshells. Like I need for you to maybe understand what it is that's going on, but I don't need for you to walk on eggshells for me, baby. Like let me be me. Let me go through the hurdles that I experience. And that is what's going to help build me.
Right. So that's really interesting that you brought that up, because it is a very complex thing to talk about. And it's a touchy subject, but I think there's a lot to unpack that is interesting. You're right. Like in a lot of ways, it's like the way you said it was great. And I think a lot of, in some ways, maybe people, other people out there, wrote her off in a sense, and so it wasn't like, oh, we want to keep her in because she's a champion, but it's kind of the opposite of that. I think the thing though, let me figure out how to phrase this. Is like, again,
I love Eva. She's a queen. Like I think she's a fighter.
I totally agree. That what I could see from less to a different point of what you said is like, if I'm out there and it seems like in Survivor, Eva, like the couple times she went through adversity, it was very, very, very challenging for her. And so to me, then I'm sort of like, well, and she also is very honest, has a lot of integrity. Those seem to be things that she values in the game. So if I'm playing with Eva, I almost think my concern would be like, well, if I turn on Eva or like vote out one of Eva's allies, is she going to like be really, really unhappy with me? Like, is that just going to completely sever that relationship? Even if I send her to the jury, is she just going to like not like is she just going to advocate against me the rest of the game? So it almost feels like a thing where you kind of can't go against her because of the way that she might react. Is that like, and that's not a thing. And I don't think that's a thing. Everyone's different. And in the autism community, like people are probably behave differently in that sense. So I just think just with Eva specifically, maybe.
Yeah. It just felt like, and again, no, absolutely. It almost felt like, and again, to no fault of anyone else, like it almost felt like they were handling her with kitty gloves. And I don't
think has to do with the fact that they knew they were on television.
Well, right.
And the thing I want to make clear, I actually think that, because I listened to Eva's interview, just a little snippet of it post game, and she was really upset at the idea that people were bringing her to the end as just kind of like, oh, we're bringing you this because you told us that you have autism. I think Eva actively said, don't treat me differently. I really clearly made,
right.
I think her and Joe have a very different relationship. And I think that her being able to trust him, I think Joe's fantastic. I think the way that he handled that with so much integrity. But I think that regardless, we saw what happened when Charity threw out Eva's name. She got voted out.
It's true.
So I think that if I were to see that, and Charity did do it like right after the whole situation, like the time, I don't know, read the room, but
it's an example of it becoming a hit.
And people went cut. So maybe people are scared. And then there's the aspect that you are on television. You have seen this incredibly powerful moment. Like, I do think that Survivor has become, like, the marketing around it has just become so prevalent, so much more than it was when I was on it. Like, I don't know if you guys feel that way, but it's like, I didn't know anybody that watched Survivor when I was on it. This sounds so stupid and so naive. And I know that when it comes out of my mouth, it sounds dumb, but I didn't look at it like a TV show. I did not understand the amount of people that watched that show. I did not know anyone that watched Survivor when I applied. I wanted to play the game. It's why, like, when I look back at confessionals, I'm like, dear God, girl, get it together. Like, I didn't look at it like that. I think it's a very different perception now. And I think if I was in that situation and I saw that play out, I would feel like, okay, I'm nervous on how this could play out online. Like, I would never want to hurt someone's feelings. I would never want anyone as a person to feel like that I'm targeting them. Like, I think it's a delicate situation for anyone.
Definitely. And there's that component, and there's also the component of, like, you witness that out there, and it's probably something that's really, really powerful, and you feel like maybe it goes beyond the game to some extent. Like, you see that, and then you're like, well, I don't know if I want to be the person that, like, stabs Eve in the back. Like, she's out here for more than just herself in a sense. And I can see why Eva would be really frustrated with that, because clearly Eva wanted to, like, play hard and play the game and be on equal, playing field as everybody else. But then all these factors out of her control influence, the way that other people are going to navigate that, because it is so delicate. So I think that's very well said, Lauren.
Lauren, I want to agree with you. When I played Survivor, I didn't know how large it was. I didn't know the community. I didn't know that there were podcasts. I didn't even listen to podcasts.
I listen to podcasts about Survivor.
Some of these Survivor nerds, I thought I was a Survivor nerd. They're on the island telling me about these podcasts, and I'm like, what?
They were telling me that they had practiced puzzles.
Right? Yeah.
You can get a puzzle?
I went into the game trying to win, not trying to make good TV. And so I look back at my confessionals. I'm just, like, literally trying to, like, think through things. I'm not trying to make any jokes or something. And now it's like, Brice, I don't need any snide. Anyway, so now I see a lot of people, and I mean, times have changed, and, like, social media is so prevalent, and TikTok and this and the third.
Who they cast has also changed.
And who they cast. And people go out there knowing, like, that they want to make a moment, or that they want to do this or say this. So it is different. So I definitely agree with you there. I had a couple more takes and questions I had about this Joe and Eva dynamic. I do think it's pretty cool that we had a final three. We didn't have any GOATs in the final three. I think it's pretty cool that and Eva came in second. She placed above Joe this whole season. Never told me that.
How did the votes end up playing out? I can't remember that
exactly. Eva won, but
okay. So it was
I don't remember who voted for. I know Mary voted for Eva, right?
Yeah.
Mary.
I don't remember who voted. I don't remember who the other Eva and Joe votes were. I think Cedric maybe voted for one of them.
Okay. Nonetheless, it's cool to have three strong players at the end of the game. I also think that, hey, maybe either one of them could have won another season. Like put them in a different season, and you might have a different outcome. Lastly, my question to you guys is, do we think that one or both of them might have done better? And it's hard to say that because they made it to the end, but might have done without the other person, if they weren't a pair, or however we want to cut it, if they weren't so tight.
Wait, do you mean without their duo just generally, or without the other person sitting at that? Because I'm thinking about if one of them is sitting with Kyle and Kamilla, do Kyle and Kamilla split votes? But is that what you're asking, or are you asking?
I'm asking if they did not have this bond so early, so that they were playing their own games, as opposed to, Joe would risk his game for Eva, and that could have been to the detriment of Joe's game at the end of the day. So I'm wondering, had they not linked up, is there a world where they do better? And then also, like you said, maybe if just one of them sitting at the end, maybe a Kyle and Kamilla do split votes.
I think there's a world that if they did not link up, I don't think both of them would have made it as far as they did. I think that like them linking up was the perfect storm for both of them. I see them not linking up and Joe, like people getting rid of Joe. Like I absolutely could see them not going as far, only because there's threats and we want them out.
I think having Joe was very, very important for Eva's success. I think she needed someone she could really that could really ground her and like she could support her and she could lean on. And Joe obviously provided that. So I think without Joe, I think things could have been tough for Eva.
Can I push back a little bit? I like again, re-watching this bit, even doing her thing. I also think that there might have been a veil of protection of a Joe because he's with Eva. I look at it the other way around.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. But I just think, and I feel like Eva would agree with this, that day one, even in her pregame, I think press, she was saying like, I need to find one person that I can like give the full truth to and that can like support me and calm me down when I need to be calmed down. She was like, that's very essential to the game that she's trying to play. And so I think without a Joe or a Joe type, in another world, that she would agree that it would have been tougher for her. With Joe, I sort of feel I see what you mean with the being associated with Eva offering some protection, but I do think that Joe could have been better. I think the thing about Eva and Joe is a guy who values integrity. He has kids. Like, as soon as he gets attached to Eva, I think that was his sort of like driving purpose. You know what I mean? So I think, and that really immediately like rooted him in like, oh, I gotta like do this with Eva and like be honorable and like do the right thing. And that sort of shaped the way that he played the whole game. Whereas maybe if that wasn't a factor, obviously he's still going to be mostly like a guy of integrity, kind of have that mindset, but maybe he's opening himself up to maybe creating some more different relationships and like maneuvering the game a little bit more dynamically.
I still the Joe that I see, and again, listening to like a little bit of Kyle's exit press, listening to a little bit of Shaheen's exit press. Joe loyal, right? Joe in the firehouse, right? He's a fireman, right? They take showers naked together. Like they like live together. They like, I'm like,
crazy.
No, but what I'm saying is
fantasies out of here.
You're like a long firehouse.
Everybody in that firehouse.
So wait, the video that I watched online, like firemen don't take showers together naked.
You watch what online?
Probably do, but the fact that you brought that up was
no.
You're watching videos of firehouse. Firemen
Oh
my god, so many questions.
Brice,
Someone just walk up to a firehouse and ask him for an invite.
Yeah, Brice said it was listening.
Brice, are you a fireman?
I am.
And for that to be your first stat about firemen,
I'm just saying,
phenomenal.
He's a fireman.
He's a fireman. Together. And you know what?
I mean, he's got a lot of experience handling a hose. So.
Put it in needlepoint.
Listen,
Brice is going to show up next season in a full fire suit. He's enlisted.
Firemen take showers together.
That's true. Listen.
Yeah, Brice, wait till you hear about it.
Like together or in the same vicinity, because I feel like that's a distinction.
I'm just saying.
Or together, whatever.
Communal showers.
I do that in prison too, Brice, if you want to go.
Brice has a fire outfit in his other room hanging up right now, starch.
Brice going to bring his own soap to prison.
I'm going to be... Anyway, my point of that is that Joe is a fireman.
What is your point?
They live together. They do like 48-hour shifts. They're close. They make bonds. And I think that no matter what, Joe was going to find a number one that he was going to be loyal, honorable with, period.
No, I'm tracking with you on that for sure.
Totally.
Jumping over the whole taking a shower thing together. I think it's super hard to play the what if game on.
Have you never taken a shower though with a friend, Lauren?
Not with a fireman.
But like you and your girlfriends getting ready, like y'all never jumped in the shower together, so like we could save time.
Brice,
I mean, like,
that's an inappropriate question.
Nah, I don't mean it like that, but
no, I mean, like, yeah, I guess, but
Jack, you at the frat house. Okay, y'all never just.
it's not really like I wouldn't say that I'm like showering with people regularly.
Okay, all right,
Personally.
Jack on a.
I know what you mean. Like when you were like in high school after your sports practice.
Yeah, like
right. No, but specifically, Jack.
But I'm not like, yo, bro, like we're running a little late. Should we just jump in the shower?
And
But-
Brice,
we're running
never-
low on water.
don't you
So
dare
y'all-
say, Brice, that you jumped in the shower with your friends either, okay? I
We're
will
talking about a different type of friend.
I think we should cut it.
Wait, Jack. So on a random Tuesday night back at the frat, nothing going on. Y'all never just sword fighted.
Nothing
just-
going on. Everybody naked in the shower.
Y'all
Hey,
don't just.
nothing going on tonight. Everyone's taking a shower together. Let's go.
Y'all never just sword fight together.
I've seen videos of fraternity sword fights as well.
Maybe during like
How much
maybe
you away
that's
his
like
YouTube
punching or
subscription?
a
Oh my
hazing
god,
thing.
you were done watching videos.
It's a different tube he's watching. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that might be like some frats might like do that during like hazing, but it's not like a casual Friday. You're like, yo, there's no party tonight. Should we all just hit the shower together? Like,
Okay,
we
all
just
right.
sword fight?
Bryce,
Okay.
I was tracking with you. It was an odd stat to pull. I think there were other things we could have used. Like, I don't know. They would go into a burning building to save each other, but we will ride with the shower. On that note, when you were like, he's loyal, he was going to find a number one, I resonate with that sentence so strongly because I'm very much a person who's like, I have my ride or die people. Like I have my group of best friends that I'm running in front of a train for them because I know they will for me. And I think that directly correlated to my game with Kelly. It's like Kelly is like the best person in the world, so that's easy, right? But for me, it's like I ride or die for her immediately. She was my number one all day, every day. I just made no tries to hide that. And so I think that's just like something about Survivor. It's really hard to hide who you are at your core and what you value and what you believe to be kind of who you are is what's going to come out regardless of who you're with or the what if game or whatever. It's like I think you're right. I think Joe would have found a number one, whoever that would have been. And I think that Eva and him together is a really magical friendship. And I think that they both benefited from it. And it's hard to say what if they weren't together because like the what if game on Survivor is so hard.
I agree with all this, but the point I would make to you, Brice, is that I think a lot of times he's going to find a number one. But if that number one is, there's a lot of different the ways that you're going to navigate with your number one. Like if Kyle was his number one, they're going to be playing maybe a different game than what Joe and Eva played. Or
if Kamilla was Kyle's number one throughout the game, he couldn't take Kamilla to the end. He's not taking Joe to the end. I think that with Eva, it's like Eva was going to take Joe because Eva's loyal. It's like I think that they were so like their values were so aligned in the aspect of loyalty that they both benefited so greatly from that.
I also agree with that. About to say Lauren, but I also think a different dynamic of Joe and Eva's relationship, as opposed to like say Joe and a Kyle, was Joe had that daughter-father relationship where like Joe going to jump into a burning building. Joe's going to like for Eva, period, because that's what he would do with his kids. And I also don't think that that would translate, i.e., with a Shaheen or a Kyle. Like, I feel like if Joe got word that Eva was doing something crazy against him, I feel like Joe would like be like, hey, Eva, come here. I'm putting you on punishment. No coconuts. You can't go to the, like, you know what I mean? Like, he would, right. He would be more understanding. I think with someone else, we see how Joe, he cuts you. Joe be like, damn, I'll give you this opportunity to help.
Yeah.
Were you and Jack sword fighting last night?
Bro.
I'm begging.
Answer
me now.
Brice. Why?
But I'm just saying.
Crazy, Brice. You miss it.
I'm going to bring us back to reality here. Do we think that Kyle just completely outshined Eva and Joe in his final tribal performance? Or do you think that he just had more things to talk about? Or do you think that he was able to articulate it? What do you guys think?
All of the above.
Yeah. You put a brilliant attorney.
No, 100%.
In front, next to, like, they're outmanned at this point. He has the artillery.
He was so articulate.
Yeah.
I listened to it and I go, oh my God. Like, I actually, this is so dumb, but I kind of like was tearing up. I was like, this is so good. He is killing it. And also, this is just a little side note. I went on a podcast very early on in the season and I said, I think like Kyle and Mitch are top contenders. I don't know if Kyle wins because I think it was really odd for that first episode for them to show him really messing up the whole like rope nonsense thing. I was like, I thought that was, no, totally. I'm like, I think it's really weird to make him look stupid like that. Like they made him look like whatever. But then I watched a few more episodes. I'm like, I think he's a top contender. I just don't know if he wins. So for him to talk about that in Final Tribal the way he did made me appreciate the editing so much more because I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Like, I just thought he was so good at piecing together the things that I felt left out of almost.
I think Kyle was just I've been saying this like almost season after season. But I think Kyle is like not only one of the best winners of the new era, like because I think in the new era, it is harder to play a blatantly strong game and win, right? Like in the old days, you could just kind of have a stranglehold on your alliance. People were more loyal. You could run the game like a Boston Robin Redemption Island, right? These days, everyone's smart enough where if you're really like that dialed in, your head's going to stick up too high and you're going to get cut because you just can't make as many big moves as you used to. So that winning games aren't as flashy. So I think now a good winning game is exactly what Kyle did, where he built great relationships, did a few things behind the scenes so that he kept his threat level low, but then had things to talk about. And then I think his timing was just absolutely perfect so that he didn't get cut too early. And it wasn't the most exciting in the sense of like, because it wasn't flashy, but if it was flashy, Kyle wouldn't have won. And so I'll say like, I think this Kyle game, best win of the new era. And I think if you really, it's almost like talking about like Jordan versus LeBron because it's like old school versus new school. But I think if Kyle's game with all the modern Survivor factoring in, I think Kyle's got like one of the strongest winning games probably ever out there. Maybe that's bold, but
this is an era where Kyle's don't win. We don't see winners like him. You're right, Jack. Like he is a big, strong, dominant male. And like you said, he navigated it perfectly. And then at the end, again, you sit this brilliant speaker at the end, and he's going to hit a home run. Now, granted, you put him next to like a Shaheen, a Kamilla. Like Shaheen is a debate coach or something like that. Put him next to someone that can spar with him. I'd love to see that. But he had the keys to the kingdom at the end, if you ask me. And yeah, like.
And the tee up from Kamilla. When I tell you, I kind of got chills when that was coming on. And she's like, I got you. I was like, I don't even know if I was cheering for you, but now I am. Like it was, I loved it. I loved it so much. How she's like, I'd actually like to get Kyle's thoughts on that, please. And I'm like, yeah, you would, Kamilla. Let's get it. It was so good. And it's not to say that Joe and Eva did poorly. I just think they were outmatched. And I also think the jury. I don't know. I haven't listened to any.
It's also interesting thinking about like having the specific jurors that are riding for you, right? Like Kyle having a Kamilla and a Shaheen who are like super articulate, like really dialed into the game, like respected, versus like. I don't want to like call, but there's some earlier jurors there that it's like they're not going to be able to build as good of a case for the person they're advocating for, right? Like,
can I ask y'all?
You're not swinging things.
A question specifically like what you just said. When you have somebody there riding for you like a Shaheen and a Kamilla, right? Like that are going to go to work for you.
Yeah.
But we always get this negative condensation.
Oh, hell no.
We always get this negative
Connotation. I got you.
correlation.
Okay, sure. That too.
Lauren just threw it to you.
Lord, we don't correct him. We let him sit with it.
It's connotation, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Correlation might work too. Let's see where.
Right.
Let's see where
I'm
we
gonna
go.
start saying condensation. Okay.
But listen, but okay.
Whenever it rains out, it's inconvenient. It's like, damn, this is negative condensation today.
Listen, if we, like you just said, with a Shaheen and a Kamilla, like literally throwing you alley-oops, teeing it up for you, and we love that. But there is also this negative correlation with quote unquote a bitter jury. They're going to sway the. But my thing is like, well, what's the difference between a bitter juror and Shaheen and Kamilla? Like, I feel like they're one, but in the sense of, no. What I'm saying is like, yeah, and I talked about this with Rob last week, but my thing is like, it's jury management. How am I a negative or a bitter juror if I'm working with Lauren, we and her working together, and then all of a sudden she just discards me and puts me on the drawer, and now I'm mad at her. And like, it's like, you know what? She lied to me the whole game, and that's what I'm telling the jurors. But I get seen as.
But isn't that the opposite of what Shaheen is doing? Like Kyle.
But that's what I'm saying.
Kyle essentially set up and duped Shaheen, and then Shaheen turned around and was like, "Damn, I respect that. That's good gameplay." A bitter juror would be like, "Oh, you got one over on me? Like, screw you. I'm not voting for you."
I don't think he's saying that Shaheen is a bitter juror. I think he's saying that in general, people who will go into a final tribal and attack someone who maybe did them wrong, or in order to lift up someone else for their own personal agenda, get this connotation, I guess. Is that the word we're going with? Condensation, whatever. That they are a bitter juror. And so you can see the flip side of that Kamilla and Shaheen are really teeing up Kyle to make these statements and to make him look good. And that could be viewed as them being a bitter juror towards Joe and Eva. I don't think it's.
I do hear you. I think it varies. Like, to me, Kamilla and Shaheen, Kyle's game aligns the most with what they value as a juror, and they see it as like the best game. And so it's not really out of bitterness towards Joe and Eva. It's them uplifting Kyle and being like, I think he played the best game. I'm going to lift him up and like alley-oop him, like you said, Brice. Whereas that I feel like a bitter juror might be like, you know, maybe you did play the best game, but I just didn't really like you. So I'm going to uplift the person that I think I just kind of like them more. I don't think they really played the best game. Because I don't like you, I'm either gonna tear you down or lift up someone else who might not be the most deserving. Like, I think of like maybe like you talk co-wrong. I know the thing is, I kind of love a bitter jury. Like, that's part of the game.
So
and I think about like, you know, like a Kyle and or Jason and a Scott and like co-wrong. Like, and this isn't obviously taking anything from like Michelle's win, but obviously Aubrey played a great game too. But you could see like the reason Jason and Scott did. Jason and Scott were like,
I was like, you gonna go out there and you gonna pick that season to go.
Well, that's one with a notoriously bitter jury. That's like a notoriously bitter jury, because it wasn't like, oh, Scott and like Jason thought that like, oh, Aubrey didn't play a good game. It was just they just didn't really seem to like Aubrey and like Michelle more. But that's like what the game is. Like, I think Michelle should have won because of this reason.
He's like, I'm trying to make it clear. Let
me be clear. Because I think bitter jury is part of the game. You have to get people to like you and want to support you. But to me, that's their mentality was like, oh, well, we just don't really like Aubrey. Like, nothing wrong with her gameplay, but like, it just seemed like they just weren't fans of her. So they're like, you know what? Let's.
But I'm wrong, Brice. I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you're saying that in general, Kamilla and Shaheen were rallying behind Kyle and had, regardless of what their intentions were, the same impact that a bitter jury.
Correct.
So they're not. He wasn't saying they were bitter jurors.
No, you're right.
He was saying that in general, their impact by rallying behind Kyle led to what sometimes can be seen as a bitter juror.
Like the same effect of what.
Right. Yes. that's what I'm saying is that like what they are doing, in my opinion, again, nothing against Kyle or anybody, but I'm advocating for the bitter drawer of like they always are so negative, like they always are seen so negative, and I don't think that that's true. It's like it's your relationship and how you feel about that person, and you leveraging your thoughts, and people are like, oh, you're swaying the jury. But I'm just using this as an example. And again, I loved what Kamilla and Shaheen did. They teed them up like, yes, let's hit a home run, but in the same thinking and the same definition of how people define a bitter drawer, like I just want people to change their mindset of bitter drawer.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's very different, but I hear what you mean. I think it's more of and I think it's an interesting conversation of like a juror's influence, right? Like one juror might just kind of have their own thoughts and just be like, I think this is the person who should win. But another juror, whether it's like a Shaheen or like, you know, a more bitter juror who's a little bit more vocal, could have more influence on the rest of the jury and swing them. So I get what you mean in terms of like a bitter juror or like a Kamilla and a Shaheen. Both are being more vocal and advocating either positively or negatively for somebody, whereas other jurors might just kind of like have their own thoughts or be more easily influenced by what other people are saying. And I think that's a really interesting like game within the game on the jury.
There's the vocal jurors on your side. I have a very interesting opinion on this because my jury was so different because we had every single person that played on our jury except for two. And we had people on the jury voting for $1 million that had not met two of the final three. So like I stand by the fact as a juror, you get to vote for whoever you want for whatever reason you want. You could vote for whoever you want and nobody gets to make you feel bad about it. You get to do whatever you want. But I also think that people are going to vote for whoever's game validates their own in no matter what. That's what I think. I think that's what happened on my season in general, because the majority of the people on my season were on the edge. If they don't vote for Chris as the winner, it discredits that they played the game.
Edge is a very tough example for sure, because
but that's why I feel strongly about juries and how it's like people are going to vote for whatever game they resonate with the most and the game that they feel like has the most value. And innately, you're going to value the game, I think, that reflects your own. Like I went into the jury and I was trying to tee up Gavin. Didn't work, but I was, because I'm like, I played hand in hand with him since the merge. Like I saw him play. I wanted to sit by Gavin. That's his own conversation, but it's like, yeah, I saw him play. So for me personally, like I fall into that category. I think Gavin's game was the biggest, I felt like Gavin's game looked the most like mine. And therefore I felt like selfishly, it was the game worth my vote. And I think that that's how you see jurors vote. And if they're mad at someone who voted them out, it's like, you picked the wrong person to vote out. Like that's the entire point of Survivor. Like, give me a bitter jury. Give me a jury that's like, no, I'm not voting for you because of this, that, and it. Like, okay, welcome to life. I don't know. I'm with you. A bitter jury.
Jurors have the right to vote for whoever they want, but I also think it's just as valid to criticize certain jurors for their vote. Like, is that I don't know. But it's like if you want to be bitter and like, you know, vote for you, do whatever. I think it's also then valid for the audience to be like,
but are they bitter or do they like? I just feel
like about it, Lauren. Talk about it.
I just was talking about it. It's like, are they bitter? Or did that person just do a bad job of managing the vote out? Like sometimes
talk about it. That's what I am saying. But I do just want to make it clear.
If Kelly had blindsided me, still would have given that girl my vote all day, every day. Laying on trade talks for her, doesn't matter. But had she done it in a really crappy way, I probably and she had just lied to me or like done something that really actually hurt me, because we did have a relationship that was deep. It's like, if I was sitting on the jury, I probably wouldn't go to bat for her the way I would Kamilla and Kyle. Like, he put her at fire. He could have taken her to the final three. And he said, listen, I can't take you. I wish I could. Can't take you. Go make fire. She lost. Like, she has every right to be like, we were a duo. You should have taken me to whatever. You know, I think she's smarter than that, clearly. But she could have sat there and been bitter, and she wasn't, because of the way that I think Kyle handled it.
Right.
So jurors are bitter. I think that they are human. And when you don't handle an emotional situation and someone's ego is hurt, that's on you. Do a better job.
Well,
but
and all the
before you
jurors,
talk
I
that,
think
I just want to
sometimes
say
on
that
you-
I just want to say that like we ain't talking about this jury, right? We're just
Yeah.
talking in general. I don't want people to like misconstrue
Oh,
that
yeah,
we're
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's all I just want to clear up. It's like this just in general.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say a lot of bitter jurors are different. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not, and sometimes it is on the person that they are now not voting for. But I think sometimes it's on them to, well, I don't know. Like like I think about like a Maria not voting for Charlie in 46. Like that was something that confused a lot of people because they were super close. I think everything that Charlie did was very valid. He handled it pretty well. He made a move that Maria herself was trying to make against Charlie. So then to not vote for him and to, ground your explanation of why you did not vote for Charlie on a lot of like things that didn't really add up with what we saw or like other stories that didn't really check out. That to me was like confusing because that seemed like it was bitter, but it was like, what did Charlie even do to create this bitterness? Is it something that Charlie did, or is it more of like an internal thing of like not handling the vote out?
Well, I want your take because you actually did sit in front of a jury, and you did have to get them to vote for you. So I want your take on this. I was the voter.
And mind you, and that Wendell won because he had a bitter jury. Because
you know what was cool about interesting about mine, and I think about I think about Kamilla, I think about Shaheen. For Ghost Island, the first 5 people that were voted out voted for Dom, but then the next 5 people that were voted out, so the people that were longer voted for me, which was interesting. And I guess I guess my game, I did kind of turn things on a little more, I guess, towards the end, but or maybe I was a little closer with them at the end. But then I think about these people. Shaheen, did Mitch vote for Kyle also?
I'm not sure.
Because you get the people that are in there longer voting for the person who ultimately wins, and maybe even like politicking for them in the at Ponderosa. But I don't know. What were y'all asking me?
I just was asking your take on a bitter jury because I think I was on a jury. I've never had to sit in front of a jury and plead my case. So I think that you have a really unique, interesting take on it. So
yeah, I don't think we had a bitter jury by any means. Because you got
Mitch
5
voted for Eva.
5 for Dom, 5 for me.
Mitch voted for Eva.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mitch voted for Eva.
Who voted for Joe?
Let me see.
Apparently, and I didn't watch it. We were at the event and I couldn't rewatch, but apparently Eva did give a really good jury speech, right?
I thought Eva and Joe were great. I really do. When I said that I felt like Kyle just blew them out of the water, it was actually not to discredit them at all. I think they did a really great job. I just genuinely believe that Kyle was that good.
Between the two of them, who do you think was better at final?
Yeah, I think Eva was, but I also think it's because, again, I will say I think Final Tribals, they edit so much out. I don't know what we didn't see. From my experience, there were so many conversations from our Final Tribal that we didn't see, so I don't know. But I feel like from what we saw, it makes sense that Eva got 2 votes.
Crush, just want to make some corrections. Kyle received 5 votes. Chrissy, David, Shaheen, Mitch, Kamilla. Eva got votes from Star, Mary, and Joe got a vote from Cedric.
Cedric, man.
I think Eva did. I think it kind of reflects on a lot of their gameplay where Eva kind of came in, knew herself, knew what she needed to do, knew the things that she was battling against, both like personally and in the game itself, and just kind of like knew her role.
She owned it.
And she articulated that. It had a great story. Whereas Joe, I think a lot of times his game was a little bit convoluted, where it's a lot of like integrity and loyalty, but also like at times he was forced to go against that, but didn't really accept it. And so I don't think he kind of had as clear of a vision of what his game was. And so obviously it was harder to articulate that. Whereas Eva was more, has her story sort of laid out a lot more simply. And And Joe's game had a lot more complexity, but I don't think Joe had fully embraced the nuance of his own game. So it's like, how do you explain a game to others that you don't fully, that you haven't fully grasped the way that you're playing?
I'm gonna kind of disagree with you on that because and here's why. So Chrissy, I think, makes a point to say, y'all are this tight duo. This is your whole sell. This is your whole pitch. Only one of you gets to win. So when do you guys start cannibalizing each other? And she used that word. I did, but anyway. And they kind of tiptoe around this idea that they're not going to sell each other out. Blah 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 blah. I think that if Joe gets on there and he says, "Listen, I love Eva. No disrespect to Eva. She is a powerhouse. But let's be very clear that she's sitting here, and regardless of if that's true or not, right? Regardless of if it's true, if he sits there and he says, she is sitting here because I helped her with X, Y, Z. I was here for this, that, and the other. And he points out every time that he did this for her. And then he circles it back to, because I knew that she was so loyal to me and we had created like this group of people that were so loyal to me, whatever. Maybe it gives credibility to his game.
You're definitely right. I just don't think that's in line with who Joe is as a person for him to. Yeah, totally.
My whole point is that he's not going to say that, and he made it clear he's not going to say that. He said, "I'm not going to say a single bad thing about her. We played 2 separate games," which is, from what I saw, is not true. You didn't play 2 separate games. You guys were very intertwined, and I think it's the same argument that Kyle and Kamilla have of like, if they were sitting next to each other, a lot of their moves were the same. So how does he differentiate himself from Eva? And I don't think because he's such a great guy, and also because it might, not be true, but there are, from what we saw and what Eva told us in Final Tribal, was that she had one of her worst situations happen while trying to practice fire. She didn't think that she was going to get through it. And the only reason that she was able to get through it was because Joe came and showed her how it helped her. Like, those were her, that's what she said. And then she wins fire. It's like, there are things that Joe can get up there and say, listen, this is my tightest ally. I knew if I had a duo that I was going to get to the end. I think it gives more credibility to his game.
And that's the difference that we see in Joe.
He wouldn't say. We also know that. I was just saying, we also know that because he is who he is, he would never do anything like that.
Because he's
and because he looks at her like a daughter, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's my whole point is like,
he's
never going to say that. He said it in Final Tribal. He's like, I'm never going to say a bad word about her, which I love. I think he's a phenomenal person. I'm just making the point that I don't think he was unaware of his game. I don't think that he is unaware of the impact that he's had on Eva. I think he's humble. And I think that he would never try to discredit Eva's personal accomplishments in the way that would benefit him.
Joe's an interesting case because the things that both made him get so far in the game are also kind of hand in hand the reasons that he does not win. You know what I mean? Like, his loyalty, his integrity are the reason everyone gravitates to him. But then at the same time, it's like getting in his own way in a sense.
But when you look at the 2 duos of a Kyle and Kamilla and a Joe and a Eva, right? Joe and Eva has said we never turn on each other. We ain't never doing nothing. Kamilla and Kyle, Kamilla says, bro, like, I can't sit next to you at the end. If I were to win, I'm going to put you in fight. Like, and I think that sometimes is the difference in a winner of Survivor, where it's like, I love you, bish. You my bestie, but guess what? Like, I'm not going to sabotage your game, but I'm not going to sabotage my own game. And that was like my one gripe, because I'm a part of the Kamilitary. I loved Kamilla. I was rooting for Kamilla. I think Kamilla, like, just hurts telling the stories about how, like, her family was like, girl, you gonna get voted out once. You got, like, like having her overcome, seeing Kamilla, right? Just as how special I thought Joe and Eva's situation was. For me personally, Camilla's situation with the fire, like, Kamilla, like, I'm telling myself I can't do it. I can't, like, she's like, bro, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to listen to that side. We're going to be calm. I'm going to focus. I'm going to lock in. Like, that resonated so much with me. And I think that I had such high hopes and was rooting so well for Kamilla. And I think just, again, her blunder when she says to us, like, I didn't think I was going to play this type of game out here. And now I am literally playing this Kyle and Kamilla game, and I don't want to see him go just yet. And I think the difference in why Kyle is the winner is that we ain't never really hear Kyle say that, right? Like, Kyle's always been torn as to who to go with, what to do, how to make the right moves. But like, I think Kyle was very locked in with that he wanted to win $1 million, and like, he didn't get like fumbled. He got caught in different alliances, but he always made the best move for himself. And again, hats off to the king. But I was like, Kamilla, cut this man. Like, you know, like, we're always putting these men before us. Like, you know, cut this man.
I think Kamilla has a very real chance that like she could win that final challenge and then get out Kyle and then win.
Interviews that she would have swept. And again, listen, I give relative credit to exit interviews. Like, I don't always believe that, to be honest with you. But
what did you say?
I could be making this up, but I think someone said in an exit interview that Kamilla would have swept the votes had she been sitting at the end.
I think so.
But I also think that it really matters who that's coming from. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't interviews for me.
She was against Joe and Eva, or if she was against Kyle.
Doesn't matter.
You know?
I don't think it matters. I think they said that if she was sitting at the end, that she was going to sleep. So.
Well, my question, and that might give a little bit, you know, with that not in mind, do you guys think if Kyle and Kamilla sit together with an Eva or a Joe, just the sort of reverse situation happen where Kyle and Kamilla might split votes, and then Joe or Eva could get like 4 of the votes and win?
I think that they can split votes, and I think one of them still wins.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Can we talk about the final or one of the last vote outs, Mitch, and essentially them voting out Mitch? Was there anything else at this point?
I want to talk about something, yeah, and it has less to do about them voting him out. It has everything to do about the fact that, can we please, for the love of God, get an endurance challenge at the end of these seasons? I am begging. Why does every single Final 5 challenge, Final 4 was actually the ball scene, but end with a puzzle? Why does it have to end with a puzzle?
Wait, I actually disagree, because at the start of the merge, we get like 4 straight endurance challenges. I'm like, finally, a puzzle.
No.
But I think the majority of the challenges this season ended with some type of puzzle.
Everything.
No. I think most of the early merge challenges were like
90% of that challenge. You get to the end,
most of the early merge challenges were just David holding something and flexing. Like, you
what?
Like, half of the early merge challenge were just like David and Joe holding something and flexing their biceps. Like, there was not
cool. I want to see endurance. I just think but I want it to be something that's like an endurance that is equal across all genders. Like, I'm not asking for it to be something where it matters that friggin' but then also it's like, hey, guess what? Maybe you should have voted out the strong guy before you got to the end. Like, it changed. I'm just like and this is maybe a personal problem because I literally suck at puzzles. So I might be a little biased, but it's like, yes, it was an awesome comeback from Kamilla, but I'm just really tired of seeing all the puzzles that are just this like great equalizer in these challenges. I would personally, at the end, like to see some endurance challenges that are gender neutral, that do not require someone to be super buff or whatever to win it. And I want to see someone pass out. I'm kidding. I joke. I just mean in general. So that's
passed out.
What'd you say?
Wasn't that you that passed out?
That was me. It was a joke. I just mean in general, I think that a puzzle at the end of a Final 5, it just hurts me. I would like it to be a little bit more endurance.
I'm not mad at you, Lauren, because I do always miss, and mind you, not so much in the newer era, but I do miss in the older era when that buff guy that like y'all should have took out kind of sweeps in a little bit. Like, I'm not mad at that. Like, I do kind of, as a fan watching, and then you're mad that he wins, but it's like, why did y'all keep him in? Like, so I know what you're saying.
Bryce, you know who doesn't? You know who doesn't miss that? Mitch, because Mitch don't miss.
Okay, Mitch don't miss.
Yeah, it was a tough spot for Mitch. Like, again, we can go back and be like, well, maybe earlier he could have made a move, but like at this point, like it's just there came a point where it just seemed like it just wasn't gonna, like, he tried, but just nobody was willing to play ball except Mitch because he could ball.
Okay, here's my question for you guys. Final 5 as it is, right? Is there a scenario, and let's say that Kamilla still wins, is there a scenario that it plays out any differently than it did?
No, I don't think so, because Joe and Eva are so locked in. Joe's so locked in with Kyle. Like, it just, like, Mitch had no one. Like, Mitch, like, you're literally the split vote between the tightest 2 duos in the season. Like, Mitch just literally had nowhere to go. Again, it just makes you wonder, and I'm not mad at Mitch for doing it safe, but like, what would have happened? What chaos could have potentially happened if he would have went with a Star, a Mary, and a Kamilla that one time? And it's like, yeah, I can't trust them, but say you get to the final 5 and you mix in a Mary, you mix in, like, you know, like, your options are open at this point. It kind of was like you arrived to the store, they close at 11 p.m. You're 10 minutes away and it's 11:30. Like, you know, the store is going to be closed.
I do wonder if
Kyle.
Say that again.
Do you think there's any scenario in which Kamilla would have voted out Kyle? At 5?
Maybe, but not with this setup, because Joe,
right?
And Eva, I don't think. My thing is, and clearly, like, Kyle and Kamilla had kind of done the calculus and like determined that they wanted to be at the end with Joe and Eva. But I also think there's a very valid move of just group up with Mitch at 5, take out Joe, and then like take out Eva at 3, and then like Kyle, Kamilla, and Mitch, like Kyle or Kamilla, they can sit together, and one of them is probably going to win. You know, so. I don't know. That obviously creates the risk, though, in a way of like, well, if we take out Joe and then Eva wins fire or whatever, or the challenge, and then Eva's in the final 3, and then now she has Joe advocating for her on the jury, like maybe there's some more risk there. But I think it's a very reasonable route to go to just like bring Mitch back and like take out a Joe. Yeah. But since they've like, sort of accepted that they think they can beat Joe and Eva, then it's like,
right,
you know,
it's no point.
So he made it very clear that he wanted to sit by Joe and Eva.
Exactly.
Which do back around to the perception that the jury had of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was accurate ultimately, but it's like I think there's a world where you could just be like, well, maybe we do just take out Joe.
Yeah, but if you think, but that's my whole point, is that it sounds like everyone thought that they could beat him.
But they probably thought they could beat Mitch too, right? Like, so then it's like you could, like, Joe's more of a threat, I think, at this point than Mitch. So it's like, if you take out Joe and then you take out Eva, then you, Kyle, Kamilla can sit together. One of them's going to win. Like Mitch.
They wanted to sit together.
Well, they only didn't want to sit together because they were planning on going against Joe and Eva. But if they're both out of the picture, then you could sit together and make Mitch is there, and then like they're going to win. But then, well, you're right. Like there is the risk of maybe Eva doesn't go out at 4, and then now one of them has to sit with Eva and Mitch. But then now instead of Joe and Eva working against each other, Joe is on the jury advocating for Eva, and that could be more difficult. So I'm not saying they should have done that. I think they did the right thing, but like I think that there's a world where that deserves consideration.
Do you think, now that we do know the outcome of this season, and I've been saying this all season, I know people have not been happy with this season, but now that we know the outcome of the season, I really do think when people rewatch this season, I don't think they're going to be as upset with it as we are of viewers that have watched it week by week. And when we were at our Brice and Win in New York, I was talking to a couple of people about this, and there was this one duo of friends where it was 3 of them. 2 of them were like, oh, I'm not that happy with the season. The one friend, I want to say her name was Melissa. Shout out to her. She had binged the season within the week because she knew she was coming to our finale party, and she thought it was so funny. Like, she thought this was like such a great season. She was like just recounting like all of the Star moments, the David moments, like the things that had happened. And so her recollection of the season was like, I'm pretty happy with it. And so I really do think that
it might be better on a rewatch.
Right. You know, a little binge, little Saturday. So. Not you hope so.
I hope so.
I will say I binged first episode to the merge all at once. it was funny. I was like,
The pre-merge was really good.
sure.
Character.
The pre-merge always eats.
It went a little off the
pre-merge
rails
always
after that.
No, it does. It does. I have one of my friends is watching my season right now, and they're like sending me pictures. Like, oh, that's a good episode, baby. That's a good episode. But I don't know. I stand by my statement of I felt as though I was out of the loop on the editing. But I think you make a good point. It's like now, like watching Kyle's final tribal council speech. That initial like editing at the beginning makes a lot more sense to me. So
it does.
You know.
And I loved how Mitch brought it up kind of in the beginning of the episode when they got back from Muddy. Like I did like the fact that the editors did keep it in there. And to your point, Lauren, I feel like it was specific to show us that in the beginning, and then to have Mitch like at least they was trying. The editors was trying to do something.
Also, yeah, the thing is, like, I guess when you're rewatching a season, like the reason this season was a little slow is because week to week, like not that much was changing. You were waiting for a move to be made, whatever. So over the span of like 2 months, you're like, well, not that much happened. But if you watch all in like a day, and there's good characters, there's some clear narrative arcs, and you just watch it through and enjoy that, then you're not really going to be like, nothing's happened. It's like, well, you just watch it all in an afternoon. So I do quickly, I know we're maybe starting to wrap up, Brian. I do want to, despite all the beefs and stuff I had throughout the season and people telling me I was always loud and
Did you
wrong.
guys get like a bunch of fights this season?
Oh, but Jack was getting cussed.
But-
Lord, Jack had to hold a press conference.
I'm okay with
okay?
it.
Press conference.
We had like a little fight. Me and David had like an online little squabble. It was fun.
Who did?
Me and David.
Oh. Ooh.
Like,
Oh, I
Nottingham
guess
used
so
the
me and
news.
you, yeah, we were beefing. All I want to say is I think a lot of my takes aged really well. And I don't even want to get started with you, Brice, but
Not me.
I don't know if you remember back when Kyle and Kamilla idled out Thomas, and you obviously changed your tune since, but I remember me being like, I think Kyle really was a big factor in this. And you were like, nah, this was all Kamilla. Like Kamilla's clearly the one in this duo. All I want to say, I said it, and again, right? I'm partly kidding because soon after that, you were like, Kyle does have that. He's got that game, but I just want to say early on, I was on the Kyle train.
Well,
Choo choo! We arrived at the station. Let's
Okay,
go.
well, listen, Jack, I will say I was loud and wrong. I will absolutely say that. But what I do want to also say to that, in the beginning, I really did think that Kamilla was running that show. However, like Lauren said, seeing Kyle's final tribal speech makes me believe that Kyle was almost allowing Kamilla to run that, right? Like I almost feel like he almost was like he was just going with her ideas, and not that he, because I'll say in the beginning, I didn't think Kyle had that many ideas. I thought he was like really like going. Kamilla was like, jump over the log. Kyle was like,
he's the winner. But like he's the winner, so that's what we need to think. I'm not discrediting him. I'm like,
No, I hear. It would have been different if Kamilla ultimately ended up winning.
we would have been in the same thing. We would have been like, oh, absolutely.
It is funny to think about. That's a great point, Brice and Lauren. But it is sort of like he kind of did like Kamilla spin her gears. Camilla's to this. I mean, it seems like they were, but to this day, feels like they were the duo. But if you really think about it, Kyle never like when it boiled down to it, and he had to pick a side. And look, they both felt the same way because they wanted to sit with Eva and Joe. Kyle was the most loyal ultimately to Joe and Eva in a way. You know what I mean? Like he would let Kamilla come up with these plots, never really act on them, stick with the plan, the numbers that he had. And then obviously like he was probably the closest in terms of a bond with Kamilla. But when it really came down to it, he was like, well, I'm actually going to take Joe and Eva. So you know what I mean?
That was loyalty. I think that was self-preservation.
Well, of course. I mean, Kamilla would have done the same thing. And that's so obviously, but it's like they talk about this secret bond, and obviously they made moves throughout, but it is just kind of funny. Like Kyle let her spin all the gears, but in reality, ultimately Kyle was like, I'm just trying to go to the end with Joe and Eva.
Right. And again, think of that perspective in the rewatch. Like I think I actually will do a rewatch of this season this summer. Just, take a little treat. No, I'm not. I'm gonna do it right in your basement.
No, you're not. And
Yo,
don't no fire people either.
Not too much, okay? Not too much because I allow you for. Thank you for allowing me to use your home yesterday. I appreciate it.
When you rewatch it, just try to line up the early merge with like nap time, and then you can wake up for the. You can start, pre-merge. You wake back up for the finale, and you'll get all you need.
Well, ultimately, I think it was a great season. I think that the Strong and Integrity Alliance had a hold on us. We didn't know which way it was going, but ultimately, I said it once and I'll say it again. Kyle was shaking ass out there, okay? And it just goes to show, shake a little ass, and guess what you get? You get a little cash, okay? Shout out to Kyle.
Brice, I'm curious for all you guys, where do you think Kyle ranks amongst the new era winners? And I would like maybe a specific number, or at worst, like a little, who might be.
I'll say top three. I confidently can say top three. I can give you my top three in no specific order.
I would love the top three.
My top three, in my opinion, are Jam, D, and I will absolutely add Kyle to this.
Rachel's not in your top three?
Oh, wait. Yes, my top three.
How many winners are there?
There's 8. Rachel, D, Kyle,
41.
and Jam are my top three.
Those 8.
Rachel, D, Kyle.
My top three.
And there's only 7?
In that order or no, Brice?
No specific order.
That would be my top 3, but I have an order, I think.
Okay. Oh,
I would say.
All right, let's be clear on who we're talking about. We're talking about Erica, Marianne, Gabler. Yeah. How do you say his name?
Jam.
My bad. D, Kenzie, Rachel, and Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
I go. I know
who's at the top. Is your number
Kyle.
1 or 3rd?
What's up?
Like you're saying, you're listing from the top. You're number 1.
Yeah, well, I'm not listing.
When you list 3, sometimes when you list 3,
you start with. I guess
I start with 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm going. Well, Kyle.
Top.
You got to see the hand movement. Top of the pyramid. Kyle. Then D. Then Rachel. Then I'll keep going. I'll go Jam.
Wow.
Okay.
Then I'll go Kenzie. Then I'll go Marianne. Then I'll go Erica. Then Gabler.
I
I didn't fully think that through, but that's my gut. But I'm curious.
A good friend of ours. Good friend of
I
the
love
show. Gabler.
I'm not mad at that order. I probably would switch Marianne and Kenzie, and I probably would stick with that list.
How are we justifying best winner?
Girl, like a bitter jury. How
you be a bitter jury?
Okay, no, like a bitter jury, baby. Whatever you want. Oh man. Okay. Wait, I want to know Wendell's ranking.
Lauren!
We can't get a Wendell top 3.
Right,
Lauren, you do it every time. Girl, that was good. No, Lauren, you ate with that. Oh.
Classic Wendell.
I don't like any winners. How about that?
Me neither, man. Winners are the worst.
Jack, make him rank it. Jack, make him give us a top 3.
Right, Wendell, come on. We need a.
Oh, that's funny. I've been waiting for that one.
All jokes aside.
I ain't ever getting invited back.
All right. I got
I'm sorry, did you just put bracelets on? Did you just put bracelets on?
Bye.
That's crazy, guys. How do you
that was so subtle and funny. Oh my God. That was
Wendell, come back. Make him give us our top 3.
I love you so much. That
oh
was.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't breathe. Oh my God.
How did we get
So
here?
much. It can't be worse than firemen shower together.
Well, listen, hold on.
Don't ISO on me.
I so
Top
can.
three, top three. And you know what? Pick from whatever criteria you
All right, whatever criteria.
Well, in that case, Kyle, David, and Jam are going to be pretty low.
These are my top three. Give me my Guyanese brother Kyle, number one, best winner of the new era. Give me Rachel, number two, strong, dominant, brilliant winner. And then I'm gonna have to go with good friend of the pod, good friend, the one and only Gabler, number three. Thank you. Like drop.
There's a couple notable exclusions from that list.
I like that list. I like that list.
Whatever criteria we judge on, that's mine.
Whatever criteria
You might be a better juror, Wendell.
Okay. Ah, Jack!
Why do I subject myself to this punishment? Y'all need to leave me alone.
Oh my God. It's just so easy. It's just so easy.
Terrible.
Why, Jack? But listen,
Okay. And if Christine played, she'd be my number one pick.
shout out to Christine, Simply Decadence. Well, listen, this has been one fun season. We can't thank the posse. We can't thank the Jack Shack. We can't thank the Wendens for tuning in. But
Did you
guess
guys
what?
come up with names on your own, really quick. Sorry.
No, the Jack Shack, they came up.
Okay.
The Jack Shack came up with the Jack Shack. The posse came up with the posse.
Yeah.
Classic
We had to
Wendell.
clear something up for
Okay.
Classic Wendell felt some type of way. So actually, give Lauren your options. So it's the Wenden,
Wednesday,
the Win,
like that.
Yeah.
the
Win-
Win Speakeasy.
Wendy's speak easy.
A bit of a mouthful, but
That's all. Can we work on? Hey posse? Hey guys, can we work on a name for my?
yeah, yours isn't as good. Yeah, to be honest. Sorry.
I need
Yeah.
help, guys. They
gotta
do
talk.
posse.
I could throw out. I don't mind the Wen. You can do the Wen pen. Like it's like I don't know.
Oh,
You know,
You're just changing one letter.
What I'm gonna
it's a
do.
different vision. It's a different visual.
You know what? You're so right. That's on me.
When pen.
I like that. I kind of like that.
One pen.
Pen.
One pen. Yeah, the pen. Yeah, pen comes off the tongue a little bit better than Winden.
I actually like. I still kind of like Wen Den, but I was just throwing you a different.
I like
Hey,
We'll
that.
let the three members discuss it and come up with the.
Well, we're discussing it now. We're discussing it now, Jack.
I will listen. If you come up with a better name, I'll be a part of it. I just can't associate with Winden. Come on, when they're
It's called the classic Wendell.
Okay. I can get down with that. But listen, Posse and Jack Shack and the Wenden, you don't have to wait too much longer. We will be back next week. CBS has said that they are announcing the official 50 cast. So the baby boys will be back to break that down next week. So make sure you tune in. Lauren, it's always a pleasure. Will you come back next season? Because we need your energy. We love you so much.
I love you guys so much. I will make sure Wendell invites me back next season, but I'd love to come anytime.
Yes, we love you. Also, before we go, the posse, make sure we head over to chatbond_official. Let's get it to 120 for our baby boy. Wendeezy, Jack, it's been one heck of a season. Jack, I had the pleasure of talking to you all season. Wendell, you.
Hey, Brice, are you going on spring break next week?
I actually do have a work retreat, so I will be taking a bit of a hiatus for podcasting for a little bit, but the baby boy will be back soon. And so, yeah, so this has been your Survivor News covering Survivor Season 48, Episode 13. We will see you soon. Bye. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants.